It was 7 a.m. I hadn't even brushed my teeth, and Karen was already claiming my pool like it was her backyard spa. HOA Karen told her guests to use my pool at 7 a.m., so I turned it into a bubble bath. Part 1. The bubble betrayal begins. It all started with a knock I never should have opened. I was in my slippers halfway through mowing the backyard, sweat still dripping down my neck, when I heard it. A sharp, overly confident knock, knock, knock. The kind that doesn't ask permission. It announces itself. I opened the door, and there she was, Karen. Clipboard clutched to her chest, like it was a badge of honor. Sunglasses perched halfway down her nose, that smug little tilt of the head that said, "This isn't a request. It's a formality." "Hey, neighbor," she chirped, sugary as a lemonade laced with vinegar. "Just wanted to let you know we'll be using your pool tomorrow morning for my niece's engagement brunch. Nothing big, just a quick dip around 7 a.m. We'll be out by 10. I blinked, unsure if my ears had short-circuited from heat. "You'll be what?" She giggled. "It's just 30 guests. We'll bring croissants. I'll even send you a mimosa." And just like that, she spun around and trotted down my porch steps like she had just gifted me a winning lottery ticket. I stood there, dumbfounded, watching the gate swing shut behind her. And then came the kicker. "Oh, if you could move your patio furniture? We're renting loungers." I didn't even have time to respond. She was gone, leaving me standing in silence, gripping the doorknob like it owed me answers. I stared out over my yard, my private yard, the pool I paid to maintain, clean, upgrade. And now, apparently, it was being booked like a hotel amenity. Something snapped in me, quietly, deliciously, because Karen didn't just cross a line. She cannonballed over it, and what she didn't know was I had a petty streak deeper than my pool. Tomorrow at 7 a.m. Oh, I'd be ready with bubbles. Part 2. The group chat bombshell. That night, I couldn't sleep, not because I was nervous, but because my brain was playing mental replays of what Karen had said, over and over, like a cursed voicemail loop. Just 30 guests? Just a quick dip? Move your patio furniture? At around 10 p.m., I did what any modern adult does when they can't make sense of their surroundings. I opened the community WhatsApp group, and there it was, a brand new thread I hadn't seen before, titled "Surprise Brunch Bash at Todd's Pool." Excuse me? I clicked it, and what I saw made my jaw hit the floor. Full-on brunch plans, catering menus, assigned towel stations, a post that said, "Don't bring food, mimosas and charcuterie will be provided." But the part that made my eye twitch, a bold statement in Karen's post, "Homeowner is totally on board." Totally on board. No, ma'am. This ship is not only not on board, it's about to sink your little brunch yacht with extreme pettiness. I kept scrolling. There were head counts, comments from neighbors I didn't even know, messages like, "See you at Todd's Oasis," and "So generous of him to host." Generous? I had never agreed to host so much as a mosquito. And then, the emoji parade, a full-on wedding brunch emoji buffet. I was half expecting to find a DJ set and a hot air balloon rental, but what I found instead was rage. Pure, uncut, HOA-fueled rage. Karen hadn't just lied. She'd manipulated, exploited, and now broadcasted a full-scale trespassing party under the guise of community bonding. It wasn't just disrespectful, it was war. And by 11 p.m., I was already sketching the blueprints. Not for a confrontation, but for something far more satisfying. Something foamy, fragrant, and unforgettable. Tomorrow, Karen was going to learn the hard way. You don't dip into someone's pool uninvited without getting soaked in consequences. Part 3. Operation Foam Storm. Begins by midnight. I was a man on a mission. While Karen was probably spritzing her brunch balloons with perfume, I was elbow deep in DIY vengeance. I dragged out an old box labeled Garage Projects Do Not Touch and blew off the dust. Inside, 3 industrial-grade foam nozzles from an old summer science experiment gone rogue, and a backup pool jet filter I'd upgraded last spring. I cracked open the toolbox, flipped on my floodlight, and got to work. Each nozzle was retrofitted into my pool's jet system, hidden just below the waterline. The tanks? Filled with biodegradable lavender-scented bubble concentrate, purchased in bulk during a Black Friday sale for reasons I no longer needed to justify. I tested it once, under the cover of darkness, just a short burst, and what erupted from the water looked like the ghost of a foam party from Ibiza. It was glorious. But I wasn't done. I set up a smart plug with a pressure sensor so the jets would only activate once weight hit the pool surface. I even added a little delay, just enough to lure them all in. Then, I reprogrammed the sprinklers along the lawn perimeter. Motion triggered. Max pressure. Rotating arc. Anyone lounging nearby? Instant misty chaos. And finally, I placed 6 rubber ducks in a perfect circle in the shallow end. Why? Because sometimes petty is poetry. By 1:30 a.m., I was done. I stood on my porch, admired my work, then went to bed with the smug satisfaction of a man who knew exactly what kind of storm was about to be unleashed. And trust me, Karen had no idea the kind of brunch she was about to walk into. Part 4. The 7 a.m. splash heard round the block. I woke up before the sun, slipped on my robe, brewed the strongest pot of coffee I owned, and stepped onto the porch like I was about to watch the opening scene of a suburban soap opera. At 6:48 a.m., the first guests arrived. They crept through my unlocked side gate, laughing in whispers, arms full of trays and folding chairs, like they were the cast of a neighborhood heist film. By 6:55, my backyard had been fully invaded. Croissants were placed on tables, mimosa pitchers were chilling in coolers, towels were laid out like beach club daybeds. And then she appeared. Karen. Tiara perched on her head, silk robe billowing like royalty, clipboard tucked under one arm like it was a sacred scroll. She clapped twice. "All right, everyone, let's dip." And one by one, they jumped in. 5, 10, 15 guests in pastel and brunch attire waded into the pool like it was a spiritual ceremony. I waited just a little longer. Then it happened. Whoosh! Foam erupted from the jets with the fury of a soda bottle shaken by karma itself. Thick, fragrant. Blinding white clouds of bubbles exploded across the surface. Screams, splashes, people slipping, plates flying. A woman flung her mimosa straight into the sky like it was a flare for help. Karen was shrieking, arms flailing like a soggy bird, drenched in lavender-scented suds. And me? I calmly stepped out onto the patio, raised my coffee, and pressed play on the portable speaker. A voice echoed across the chaos. "Welcome to Bubble Brunch." Part 5. The foam hits the fan. Karen's brunch fantasy had dissolved into a lavender-scented nightmare. Guests were fleeing the pool like it had been cursed. Some screamed. Others tried to climb out, only to slip and land on soggy brunch towels or knock over mimosa towers. One poor guy tripped over a floating rubber duck and took a croissant tray with him. It was beautiful. Karen, meanwhile, stood in the middle of the foam, dripping, trembling with rage. Her tiara now hung lopsided, clinging to her soaked curls like it too was giving up. "You ruined this!" she screeched, marching toward me with a brunch schedule in one hand and her phone in the other, now clearly waterlogged beyond saving. I raised an eyebrow, still sipping my coffee. "Actually, Karen, this is called private property." She jabbed her finger toward the pool. "You used chemicals. You endangered my guests. This is a violation of community health codes." I pointed at the sign, clear as day, posted right by the gate. "Private pool, no trespassing. Violators will be foamed." Okay. Maybe I added that last part with a Sharpie the night before. But still. Then came the cherry on top. "Harold!" she shrieked. A short man in a neon HOA vest stumbled into the backyard holding, what else, a clipboard. His eyes scanned the foam-covered chaos. His expression somewhere between panic and "I did not sign up for this." Karen ran up to him like he was a lifeguard at a sinking cruise ship. "Cite him! Report this! This is sabotage!" she yelled. Harold blinked. Is this your property, sir?" I smiled. "It is. Every inch of it," Karen snapped. "But it's a shared amenity. He's part of the HOA. That makes it common use by default." I took a slow sip, then said calmly, "This pool was built before the HOA was ever formed. It's not on the community plot map. Want to check the county records?" Harold didn't. I could see it on his face. But Karen wasn't done. She pointed to the foam again. "Well then, he used unsafe substances. What's that chemical smell?" Harold dipped a finger into the foam and sniffed. "Lavender," he muttered. She gasped. "That's not natural." He shrugged. "It's nice?" I almost burst out laughing. Karen's jaw dropped. "You're just going to let him get away with this?" Harold took a small step backward. I need to call someone." And just like that, the queen of brunch stood alone, soaked, foiled by foam, abandoned by her own clipboard army, and I hadn't even pressed the sprinkler override yet. Part 6. Sprinklers, Sashes, and the Sudsy. Showdown. Karen was livid. Harold was confused, and I was sipping my coffee like it was front row at the HOA Olympics, but I wasn't done, not even close, because just as Karen turned to rally the soaked remnants of her brunch brigade, the motion sensors in my lawn finally detected movement. PSSHHHT. The sprinklers kicked on with a hiss, then a blast. A wide arc of icy water erupted from the lawn edges, hitting folding chairs, brunch tables, and every pastel-wearing guest still trying to salvage the morning. A fountain of karma, a tidal wave of justice. People screamed, hairdos collapsed, dresses stuck to skin like soggy napkins. One guest slipped while holding a mimosa tower, and it all went down like a fizzy Jenga set. Karen shrieked, "Not the champagne, I swear." One woman yelled, "Abort brunch," before tossing her sun hat like a frisbee and running for cover. And there, in the middle of it all, stood Karen, drenched, seething, foaming at the mouth, possibly literally. Her sash now read, "Auntie of the bar." The ink had run. She locked eyes with me like I'd just declared war on toast points and bridal decor everywhere. "You're going to pay for this!" she screamed, marching toward me like a wet parade float. I simply raised my phone and hit record. "Smile, Karen. HOA says hi." She froze, looked down at herself, at the ruined pool floaties, overturned tables, foam drifting like clouds through her mimosa mess. And she did what all good villains do when the spotlight hits them. She doubled down. "This is harassment," she shouted to Harold. "This is targeted. This is an HOA emergency." Harold, bless his clipboard, was standing near the fence trying not to get soaked. "Ma'am, I don't even think this is in the handbook." The moment was golden, and I Hadn't even called Mia yet. Part 7. Enter Mia. The HOA's worst nightmare. I didn't say another word. I just walked inside, calm as a monk, and dialed the one person I knew would bring nuclear-level legal heat to this lavender-scented showdown. Mia, ex-HOA board member, now a lawyer, and more importantly, my best friend since college. She picked up on the first ring. "Tell me it finally happened," she said. I didn't even need to explain. Just sent her a photo of Karen, mid-yell, soaked in foam, tiara crooked, mimosa puddle at her feet. Mia whistled. "Give me 15 minutes, I'm bringing receipts." By the time I'd topped off my coffee, she was already at my gate. Sunglasses on, folder in hand, black heels clicking like a courtroom metronome. She didn't knock. She entered. Karen, of course, made a beeline. "And who are you supposed to be?" she snapped. Mia didn't even blink. "Legal counsel." She turned to Harold. "Let's review your violation report, shall we?" Harold looked like he wanted to melt into the foam. Mia flipped open the folder. "No photographic evidence, no approval forms. Fence measurements pulled from an outdated zoning map. And let me guess, that chemical you're so concerned about?" She held up a bottle. "USDA certified biodegradable bubble formula. Safe for kids, dogs, even brunch tyrants." Karen gasped. "You can't be serious?" "Oh, I'm very serious," Mia smiled. "And I've got screenshots of the event thread. The one where you told everyone the homeowner was totally on board." Karen's face turned from red to pale in 2.5 seconds. Mia handed the documents to Harold. "Do your job, or admit you're being used as a soggy pawn in Karen's brunch coup." Harold flipped through the papers, mumbling, This does look comprehensive." Mia crossed her arms. "And illegal. Trespassing, defamation, property misuse. Shall I keep going?" Karen was vibrating now. "You're just making this up to humiliate me." "No, Karen," I finally said. "You did that all by yourself." And just like that, the tide of the battle shifted. But the war? Oh, it was far from over. Part 8. Karen's last stand and Mia's mic drop. Karen was cornered, but she wasn't backing down without swinging her clipboard one last time. With trembling hands, she whipped out her phone, still dripping from foam, and pointed it like a sword. "I'm calling the board! I'm calling my cousin's attorney! You'll be sued into next week!" Mia didn't flinch. "Karen, you forged a community event, so lied in writing, and trespassed with 30 people in tow. You don't need an attorney. You need a shovel." Karen's voice cracked. "This is still my neighborhood." "And that," Mia said with a smile, "is your problem." Harold was still holding the folder like it was a hot potato. That's when the final boss music kicked in, figuratively. A sleek black SUV rolled up to the curb, and out stepped Brenda, HOA board president. 5'2" of steely-eyed judgment and judicial energy. Clipboard? Yes. But this one had tabs, a pen loop, and the confidence of 10,000 bylaws. Karen's face turned sheet white. "Brenda," she squeaked. "I was just trying to create community engagement." Brenda raised a hand. "Save it." She turned to me. "Todd, may I speak with you in private?" We walked to the porch. Mia flanked me. Jake, my cousin, who had arrived quietly during the chaos, stood nearby with his own clipboard and a smirk that could end wars. Brenda reviewed the documents, the photos, the messages, the guest list, the video of foam jets going off like Old Faithful. She exhaled. "This is not only outrageous," she said. "It's grounds for board-level action." Karen was hovering nearby, pretending to adjust a soggy banner. Brenda raised her voice, just enough for her to hear. As of today, Karen is suspended from all committee duties, stripped of social planning privileges, and subject to review for permanent removal. A single champagne flute dropped to the ground in the background. Karen staggered forward, mascara streaked, tiara hanging sideways like a broken crown. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed. Brenda turned to her calmly. "You did it to yourself." And with that, she walked away. Karen stood frozen, dripping, alone, in the remains of her brunch empire. And the best part? I never even had to raise my voice. Part 9. Viral fame, rubber ducks, and a quiet victory. By noon, the war was over. Karen had retreated behind her front door like a dethroned monarch, trailing soggy decorations and the smell of defeat. The yard, still coated in patches of foam. The pool, calm, save for a lazy swirl of bubbles and a circle of rubber ducks still bobbing like veterans of a foamy battlefield. I sat on the porch, feet up, coffee fresh, soaking in the silence. Then my phone buzzed. Jake had uploaded a clip from earlier. Karen mid-shriek, foam flying, the now iconic line, "Welcome to Bubble Brunch," echoing in the background. The title? Karen invades private pool, gets bathed in justice. Within an hour, it had 12,000 views. By evening, the local news had picked it up. I was getting messages from neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years. Legend. Iconic move. Can you host my kid's birthday party? Number. But thanks. Even Brenda texted a rare well played. As for Karen, she went radio silent. The HOA meetings after that were quiet, civil, short. Karen sat in the back. No clipboard, no sash, no more entitlement. The era of brunch coups and weaponized guest lists was officially over. And me? I didn't need revenge, just bubbles, rubber ducks, and a little help from Mia. Because sometimes, the best way to deal with entitled neighbors is to let them drown in the drama they create. And maybe hit the sprinkler system one last time for good measure. Epilogue. A peaceful morning at last. It's been 3 weeks since the foam storm, and my backyard has never been quieter. The pool, crystal clear. The patio, free of brunch tables, folding chairs, and uninvited guests. And Karen? Let's just say she walks her dog on the other side of the block now. No more clipboards, no more sash. Just a faint glimmer of former HOA royalty, now stripped of her brunch empire. Sometimes I catch her glancing at my house when she thinks I'm not looking, like she's trying to calculate what went wrong, or if the rubber ducks were part of a deeper plan. Meanwhile, Mia's been promoted to the board's legal advisor. Brenda made it official with a handshake and a rare smile. Jake, still laughing every time he hears someone say foam. And me? Well, I finally got around to reinstalling my patio furniture. And just this morning, while sipping my coffee, a new neighbor strolled by and said, "Aren't you the bubble brunch guy?" I nodded, smiled, and pointed to the sign by the gate. Private property, respect required, with a tiny duck sticker beside it. Because in this neighborhood, respect isn't just a suggestion, it's earned, one bubble at a time.